Hi, I'm going to tell you how for some retiring people that there may be a great way to fund this retirement, to retire rich. So stick around to hear this one little known secret to a wealthier retirement. Many people planning retirement sell their family homes and downsize to a less expensive condominium or a small house. They plan to be wealthier by keeping the remaining money after paying for their new home to help support for later living costs. However, if you're moving from an area where your house did not sell for a large price, say for example northern BC, or you had to pay out a remaining mortgage and you plan to move to Victoria, which is a more expensive area for your retirement, you might find you just won't have enough money left to enjoy the comforts you're hoping to have during the retirement. Instead, you want to retire rich, don't we all? So what are you supposed to do? I'm going to tell you all about one little known secret for your consideration, which just might make you wealthy enough to enjoy your retirement. It's not for everyone, but it can work for many and maybe for you. Hi, I'm Gary. So you've just sold your house in Regina and you have $500,000 left from the sale. You arrive in Victoria and you start looking for that nice 2-bedroom condo, and you realize that the $500,000 is just not going to quite do it. So what do? Well, you can buy a smaller condo, or can you live in a 1-bedroom condo with your spouse? Can you really stand being that close day in and day out on your retirement? Or do you have to give up having a nice garden or a backyard? When you purchased your previous home, it was more likely a freehold purchase. Freehold means you own the home and the land under it outright. You are solely responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of your property and the taxes associated with it. And you could pass this land and house on to your family and future generations if you wanted to. Well, there's another type of ownership called leasehold. Leasehold means that your home is owned for a fixed period of time by you, and you never really own the property that your home is built on. The lease runs for a really long time, typically up to 99 years or more when first created, although you might buy a lease for, say, 50 years. This leasehold period may be a lot longer than you really need to own the land. You have certain rights to use the property and land in exchange for a specified monthly payment made to the owner or landlord. Leaseholds for equivalent properties are usually cheaper to purchase. For example, a 2-bedroom freehold condo where I live in Victoria can go for around $500,000 and up and much higher. A similar leasehold property can often be found for under $350,000, with some 1-bedrooms for under $250,000 at the date of this video, which is March 2023. The question is then, why does not everyone who wants the best deals simply buy leasehold properties? For some people, it really is the best option, and for many others, it may not be. So let's have a look at the differences to see who this works for best. Here are some of the differences between freehold and leasehold ownership. With freehold, you own the complete building and property, except on a freehold strata, which we're not talking about today, and you have full responsibility for the property. You are liable for any work required for the property. The second thing is, once you have paid off the purchase of the home, you do own the land and property basically forever and can pass it on to your future relatives, or you can sell it if you want. The third thing is, you do not pay a fee for owning the land once purchased, except for the regular property taxes and services, etc. The fourth thing is, the purchase price of freehold for similar properties tends to be more expensive than for leasehold. And the fifth thing is that the value of the property may increase more than the leasehold properties due to the mentioned reasons above. Now, with leasehold properties, first, you have the right of occupation for a fixed period of time, but you may be restricted in what you do to the property, like structural changes. The second thing is, you will pay a monthly lease fee to the leaseholder even though you've purchased the leasehold. And third, you will have the right to occupy the party for a limited lease period, which, as mentioned previously, is typically 99 years or less. It is often not clear what happens at the end of the lease in many cases. Leases may be renewed or they may not be renewed. The fourth thing is, leasehold property values will tend to decrease as the lease gets near the end of the term of the lease period. And the fifth thing is, purchase price for leasehold properties for similar properties will tend to be less expensive than for freehold. Lastly, selling a leasehold tends to be more complicated than a freehold sale because you have to enter into a lease. By the way, Rosemary and I are a real estate team with DFH Real Estate here in Victoria, BC, Canada. We love living here. We provide these instructional videos to our clients and friends and are happy that you have discovered them. Please subscribe to our channel, like a few of our videos, and click on the notification bell to be notified of our weekly video releases every Wednesday. Finally, share this with your friends. If you enjoyed our videos, then we will keep making them, so thank you again. Now let's continue. So, who can take advantage of leaseholds and how does this help you in the retirement? Well, suppose, as I mentioned in the beginning of this vlog, that you have $500,000 for your last home sale and you come looking for a new home in Victoria to retire to. If you buy a leasehold 2-bedroom condo for say $300,000 to $350,000 instead of paying your total $500,000 for a freehold property, then this means that you have $150,000 to $200,000 cash remaining to help you fund your retirement. If you already have a pension and some savings, this might make quite a big difference in your final retirement years. There are a few things to think about, however. Eventually the lease will run out and essentially the leasehold may have little or no value. However, if you are in your 70s and you have a 50-year lease, that may be of no concern to you. You can just let your executor sort out any remaining value once you're gone. If you have a family or dependents that you wish to leave some of your wealth to, this may not be a great idea, as the value will eventually decline. It really depends on how long the remaining leasehold period is when you buy the property. Your leasehold may increase in value for a while, but as the lease term nears the end and the value starts declining to zero, there may not be much left for your heirs. However, if you have no heirs or no plans to pass on wealth, then this may allow you to extract more cash for your retirement than paying for the higher costing freehold property. Rosemary had this exact situation a couple years ago with a retiring couple who came to Victoria with about $250,000 to buy a retirement property. They had children but very limited ability to pass on much of their wealth to their children. They had no plans to ever move again, but it was important to them that they have a yard and a garden and not be in a strata condo property. They purchased a 3-bedroom leasehold home which was located on leasehold property for $250,000 and had to pay a $600 per month fee. With their other savings and pensions, they were able to fund this retirement and were not concerned if their property values went up or not. Similar properties that were running well over $500,000, which they just could not afford having sold their home in Winnipeg. And so they were very happy on the result and looking forward to a long and wealthier retirement, having paid off their house with a small monthly fee. So, what do you think? Is this a good option for you? Will it work to help provide some extra retirement cash? A final note is leasehold purchases can also work well for rentals. Since the purchase price is lower, the rate of return is higher as they will typically rent for the same amount as equivalently more costly freehold properties. If you want to know more about this or anything else about the Greater Victoria real estate market, then just give us a call. Our contact information is in the description below. If you'd like to know more about getting ready for retirement, then watch this video below called What No Realtor Will Tell You About Downsizing. You will learn a lot. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.